challenging sessions always, the one before lunch and the one after. And unfortunately, when it is delayed, it's more challenging. So today I'm in that position, so please bear with me for this time. One big advantage is that the whole audience is digital savvy, so I need not explain what digital is, deep dive into that. So that advantage I have. The second bigger advantage is that because we are all hungry, you will not be asking more questions to me, right? So let me start off. What we are going to see today, or what I'm going to cover today, is more about the digital experience, what is meant by that, and what we are, and how to achieve that. While I talk about the digital experience part, uh, maybe when I say experience, it's the journey that I go through, whether I'm buying anything or I'm trying to do something, the way I start, the way I end, that's the journey that we talk about, right? So the same way we are going to touch upon how a digital journey is covered and how that is taken care by the digital experience, so-called platforms. And when I say customer here, it is with a purpose. Maybe during the middle of the presentation, I will talk about why I'm mentioning this as a customer journey rather than calling it as a digital journey. Uh, we have been digital always. Anything in electronic form is digital, right? Digital is a new, maybe a jargon combined to say digital is something new. But we have been always doing things on emails or on scanning things. So digital has always been there. We have had ERPs, we are storing data, we are retrieving it, we are doing many things on that. But what is the change? The change is that when we try to do automation using those digital technologies, we used to do based on a requirement, a need, or a pain area, right? So we started developing new things or putting patches or putting a small functionality to arrest a particular pain area so that that pain area gets solved and we continue with the technology, innovation, whatever we call it as, right? It's fluid. It goes as per the requirement, the need, or the pain areas of the organizations that we have understood. That was what digital was yesterday. What is today is not what we have done. We always feel that there is something new that is going to come. That is why we are all talking about digital innovation, even today, right? So we still are looking at what is that is digital, how we are going to solve our organization, saying that, oh, we are a digital savvy organization. Obviously, fintechs are far ahead on that, but if we learn from what fintechs have tried to do, is what we are trying to see here as well, right? So the words we used to say about we want to extract the data, we want to upload the Excel, we want to convert a transaction, we want to scan a file and keep it, store and retrieve, all these things are gone. That is taken for granted. That means we assume that these functionalities are given as part of any digital initiative, right? Now, if you look at even the first point, which I mentioned it as extraction, with the e-invoicing functionality in India particularly, right? You don't need extraction anymore. You have the QR code, you extract, you will get all the data relating to the invoice. So why do we need an OCR function, not, right? So going forward, maybe we will see a lot of change in that space as well. So what we tried to address yesterday is not going to be applicable tomorrow. And that's the fluidity that we are talking about as part of the whole thing. So what is digital? What are people talking about? People are talking about how we can create a digital experience. When somebody is interacting with me, how will they interact with me? What modes they will interact with me? If they are conducting a business with me, how do they conduct that business? How fast they can complete a business transaction with me, right? So the ease of use of interacting with the business or with the organization is what is going to drive the digital one. It could be portals. You would have seen a lot of portals have come, aggregators, as well as every organization has a portal, a website, a portal, where we can go and do the transaction over there, right? Or look at do queries, do a lot of functionalities are available as part of that. And that's where we call it as digital portals, which means they are interactive, they give immediate response. What we used to call the organization, the finance department, to say what happened to my invoice is all handled through vendor portals these days. I go to the vendor portal, I put my invoice number, it tells me what is the status. If it has been paid, it tells me what is the payment status, right? I don't need to call the finance to see what is the status of my invoice. Same way, lot of automated workflows, the task automations. If you see, one important thing that we have done in the past is about task automation. Wherever we found that they are mundane, they are repeatable, where it is killing the human time, we have tried to automate that. So that that time is saved and they can work on smart areas. So these are some of the digital that we are talking today, which is what is going to drive as part of the digital experience. The question is, are we transforming? Yes, of course, we have to transform, but we should not do the same mistake that we did last time. The mistake is we try to address the pain areas, the immediate needs, the requirements, right? But when we understood the requirement, it was from a perspective of an individual or an individual department or a function. So what has happened is that we tried to automate for a particular department or a function which satisfied them, but it did not satisfy the others who are also part of that process, right? So before we get into the transformation, we should look at what are we transforming? Why are we transforming? For whom we are transforming? What is the benefit they will get if we transform, and what is the benefit we will get as part of the transformation? And to understand it better, I have taken 3 stakeholders. I'll not call them customers for now, but I'll call them as stakeholders. So who are these stakeholders? One is an internal organizational stakeholder to the finance buyer, a procurement head or a procurement lead, where they do the procurement process. If you look at how they work, there is an indenting system, there is a PR system, maybe part of ERP, may not be part of ERP, but then they go into other systems, send mails, get the quotes, create an Excel sheet for quote comparison, then go for bid management, then go for vendor onboarding, separate, right? So the way they have to collate the information between these applications and bring it takes time. While each one of them is automated, each of the functionalities are automated, they are all disjoint. So the digital experience that we are talking about is not addressing this persona, right? That's one of the bottom line. The second bottom line is, let's take the CFOs. If there is and particularly take the use case of invoice processing. Now, when an invoice comes into the system, do we know immediately today how many invoices came? What is the liability positioning on them, right? Maybe invoice is valid, maybe we short pass over a period of time, it will take its own time, maybe we deduct something, but we should know the liability for us in the next 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, so that we can plan our cash flows accordingly. Now, whether we are getting this information on time, yes, we may be getting it, but it may be collated manually. Why? Because collection happens at respective units, factories, or locations. Then there is an ERP. I go and try to punch this invoice in the ERP. There are issues with the invoice. I go to the buyer. So there are a lot of to and fro reworks that keep happening on those invoices, because of which I don't get the proper liability reporting. Maybe I miss the deadlines. I even don't know how many invoices are aged beyond the due dates, right? The third, this is the me, which is the stakeholder. So one is the internal stakeholder. The first one was the stakeholder of finance. Second was the finance. The third persona that I'm taking is the finance executive, who is the real worker who is sitting and working on these systems. Whenever we ask for any information, that person goes and looks into things. We ask for a report, they compile data, they push data, pull data from multiple applications, create a beautiful Excel report and give. And by the time it comes to us, it may be outdated. Why? Because a few more transactions would have happened during that period, right? So what we are not trying to address is those personas who are our stakeholders. Now, why did this happen? This happened because the way we have been looking for, it's nothing, I'm not saying there is a good or bad kind of a scenario. It's all ways to better the way we were doing things, right? So when we looked at what we were doing earlier, we used to do transaction process automation. We looked at a transaction, we automated those transactions. So we looked at what tasks are there as part of that transaction, we automated that, it used to post. So it was more of a, I'm an IT person, but it's more of an IT initiative, where the purpose was to solve the silos of activities that happen as part of a transaction. Maybe some of them were happening manual, so they tried to bring it as automation silos over there. So the point was, it was more of an IT-driven automation to satisfy certain needs which were vocally given to those IT teams. But what we are doing is a business process. And these business processes are not just the transaction that we do, but it spans across the organization. It spans across functions, even invoice. If I get an invoice, if it is a capex related, I have to send it to my legal, my taxation team, get an approval from them. I have to send it to different teams for their concurrence before I process. Maybe I don't want to pay because they have not paid the GST for last month for me, right? So all these checks and balances are also to be done, which may not be part of any IT initiative. So it is more of a business process that I have to drive, right? So the thought process of transaction automation to business process automation drives the digital experience part of it. Why I am saying that part, business process automation is the key, is because if you look at what auditors do when they come and at the end of the year, they come and take samples, maybe random samples, they try to see how this has been performed with in respect to the SOPs that you have, the standard operating procedures you have. Any deviations, they put non-compliance, right? So how are we able to manage these non-compliances which happen on silos of applications, right? My business flow is one, but the tasks are done in different applications, so I'm not able to collate. Maybe the compliance is missing over there. The governance is also gone for a weak point of view. So what happens in that case is that since we don't have a unified platform which takes care of the end-to-end automation of these business processes, we get into these problems of non-compliances and partial visibility, or I will not say no visibility at all, but it's more of partial visibility. I do have the visibility, but it is broken. It may be outdated, or it may be in batches, right? So why did we get into this scenario is because we tried to do transaction automation using the technology. So we had, for every requirement, we found, oh, this technology is good, let's go for this technology. Or for this automation, some vendor presented this technology, so this automation is good for this requirements. So even within finance, we find multiple technologies or multiple applications being used for different purposes. And these silos added to the technology silos. So the process silos within accounting department, or the procurements, or the ERP and other applications that we use for different activities, along with each one of them are in different technologies. So where we end up is a big migration plan. You have a big project for migration because tens of applications will have to be migrated at the same time, coordination with 10 vendors, 10 technologies, 10 support systems, 10 servers, and whatnot, right? You all know what I am talking about. So because of the silos of processes and silos of technology that we use within the organization, we have broken experience. Now, where is this broken experience? The broken experience is with all the stakeholders that we have. Now, if we say we are having a business process, then whoever is interacting with this business process, I will say they are the customers of that business, and business will have to support them in ease of use and seamless way of working, right? So I will change the way, the name or the nomenclature that I am saying as shareholders to customers. And what we need to do is we need to transform these people's journey. Whoever is interacting with the business process, the business transaction, the way they interact, if I can make a difference in the way they are doing, I understand each and everybody's needs on what is required to do in that particular process. If I transform them, then that becomes my digital experience, right? So what we need to do as part of the digital experience is that first we have to automate end-to-end. Any SOP that we take or any journey, the business transaction journey we take, we have to automate right from the start, whatever may be the channel of input, right? It should be understood, it should be taken, it should be processed. Wherever automation is possible, we should do automation. Wherever enablement is required for the user, we should do the enablement so that the shortest possible time is used, the human time is used to conduct a particular task, right? So we enable the users so that they don't spend time on creating Excel sheets or doing calculations or to going into multiple applications to see what I should do next and all. The second is we should also make it much faster, in the sense that we should look at, okay, let's take invoice today because it's a lucrative subject always, right? If I am taking 7 days today, what will make it, what I should do to make it in 2 days? What I should do so that it gets processed on the same day, so that my liability report at the end of the day is always real time, right? And also, how do I make it operationally efficient? I'm not talking about the process efficiency alone. I'm talking about optimization, efficiency and productivity going together as part of this digital transformation. And not only that, we should not stop with one, which means today I do based on the current mindset that I have, the requirements I have, the technology needs I have. Tomorrow I should be able to continuously improve upon them. There are plenty of industry best practices. There are industry benchmarks which are available, and these benchmarks tell us how to get the ROI. Now, ROI is a different subject altogether. We'll talk about that, because the traditional way of calculating ROI is cost divided by transaction. It doesn't work anymore. Why? Because today we are addressing plenty of customer experiences. Now, those experiences also will have to be counted as part of the ROI, so that we know exactly how the value to the business has gone because of this automation, and not just from a cost perspective, right? So once we have these operational efficiency, the business innovation, and also the customer experience driven as part of a technology, we call it as the digital experience. And this digital experience covers plenty of functionalities, features, or expectations of different personas, as we call them, right? So these are, whatever you talk about the buzzwords today, intelligent automation, you want say smart risk management. I'm sure some of earlier speaker also touched upon that. How do you manage your risks? How do you reduce your non-compliances? How do you ensure that any business that happens in the organization is as per the SOPs that we have, right? Those things should be driven as part of a framework, and that is what we call it as the holistic customer journey enabled by technology. So when technology enables it, we call it as the digital experience, right? And to enable that digital experience, what Newgen, the company I represent, has is a platform called Newgen 1. And this digital experience platform has changed the life of those three personas that we spoke about. The first persona, what we saw, so here we have a seamless onboarding, right? From whatever data documents have been collected already, all the subsequent actions are taken care of. Based on the type of procurement we are doing, it automatically throws up a checklist on what needs to be collected. Earlier collected informations are kept. All the onboarding exercises and other things are as required by finance, by legal, contracting. Everything happens in a seamless way as part of a digital mode, so that the way they can visualize what is going on and plan their activities are much, much better, right? And similarly, talking about the CFO, because on fingertips, the entire KPIs are available. The data is available in the form of information. We have the KPIs. The plenty of KPIs are there when we talk about finance and account particularly. So all these KPIs help us in achieving the industry best practices as well as going beyond them, right? Similarly, about the people who are really doing the work, the third persona, right? They don't spend time on the mundane task. They don't do collection of data from multiple applications to create reports. They only tell what kind of reports they want. They just go and do the drag and drop function, use the drag and drop functionality of these experience platforms, create their own dashboards on the fly, so that anything that the CFO, the controllers want on the fly, they are able to turn it out and give it in a more beautiful way, so that it can be reused as part of the presentations and all. So they also get de-stressed as part of their operations, because if you look at what they are doing, I'm sure you know better than me, most of, at least 40% of the time, they do the work that they are not supposed to do, making Excels, right? So what the Newgen digital experience platform does is brings all the requirements which are talked. I'll not get into that because of the time, but I wanted to speak on some of those items anyway. So I will leave it to you. We can share the presentation. Whoever wants, please share your email ID. We'll share the deck to you as well. So we are talking about not just the workflows which are data driven, workflows which require supporting content, workflows which require content to be as a supporting or what you call proof of action documents, or document enabled workflows, right? We are talking about all these combinations of workflows or the business processes that can be automated as part of this digital platform. So having said that, technology is what I have spoken. Is technology the only thing that will solve all the problem? No. Technology is always an enabler. It's a support function. How best we use the technology is left to us. So when we are looking at transformation, how do we unlock this digital transformation? The transformation happens through platform, which is the Newgen 1 digital experience platform, plus the governance part of it. While the platform can give you the digital transformation tools and technologies and whereabouts and about the best practices being followed, solutions, accelerators and whatnot. The more important thing that will come from is the governance part of it. How do we define the processes, business processes that we want to automate as part of that? What all we want to automate? Who are all the actors, the personas who are going to be part of that? How do we take care of their experience? The moment I am able to solve the experience of each one of those personas and ensure end-to-end automation, that's what is the digital experience that Gartner and others are talking about as part of the whole thing today, right? So the moment I have this customer experience, the operational efficiency, the customer experience and the business innovation done as part of this digital experience platform clubbed with the process automations, I call this as a hyperloop. You know, hyperloop is being used at many places for various, to describe various activities. It is speed always, right? Now, speed doesn't start saying that, okay, it's now 100. It's always from 0 to something to something to something. So what hyperloop allows you is to start small, test waters, realize benefits, keep continuously growing, right? So you may be having hundreds of business processes that you have as part of your organization, enterprise-wide, across the systems. It can be a mainline function, it can be a supporting function. The way we can start is start small, because the tools and technologies allow you to scale both horizontally and vertically. Vertically from volume and the business perspective, in the sense that you can span, you can start with maybe the sales, you can go to finance, you can go to legal, you can go to admin, you can span across your functional departments. And from a horizontal point of view, you can scale in volumes. What we want to do, we can decide and we can keep scaling. The end-to-end journey is what is more important over here, right? So the objective is, the moment we are able to visualize the end-to-end journey of a business transaction, as well as the end-to-end journey of the people who are interacting with it, the combination of the journey is what is going to transform as part of the digital experience, right? So there is no limit, whether it's a persona, tool, technology, or the processes or the functions that we are talking about. And that's what is Newgen's experience of delivering the digital experience over the years. We are a 30-year-old organization. Maybe jargons have changed, but we have been delivering the same thing always, right? One example of a customer, this is particularly on finance and accounts, and a small portion of logistics, more of how the bill of lading and other financial transactions happen as part of the logistics. If you look at the below, the blue ones, we have brought them to same-day processing and across 70 countries. It's not just one country, around 15 to 18 entities are there, some 7 ERPs they are using, some 4 SAP instances, 2 Oracle instances, 1 homegrown application. We have brought in a unified framework. So they have no onboarding exercise. The onboarding is on one platform, digital platform. They don't need to worry about Oracle training or anything. They are all cross-skilled to work on all platforms. So which means they work on one platform, they just complete the transaction based on the checklist and other enablements that happen as part of the automation that we have done. So what we see is that the processing, the same day processing, actually the human touch point is only 6 minutes per transaction maximum. And what we have achieved also is that by identifying the bottlenecks, the number of reworks that happen, we have, by eliminating those bottlenecks, we have brought in a first time right scenario of invoices of more than 60%. And in fact, in one other organization for a particular entity, we have made 100% of the invoice touchless, right? All things are possible the moment we understand who are the stakeholders and what is the process we are automating. Right? So that's the digital experience platform for you, and that's Newgen for you. Thank you. Any queries?